The Second Great Schism, which began 3 years ago, in 7003 before Battle of Yavin, was a preparation for one of the key and most important moments, since its consequence will mark galactic history forever. A group of Dark Jedi, dissatisfied with the limitations in the study of the Force that the Jedi Order was imposing on them, they began to clandestinely experiment with forbidden practices and even discover things that the Force itself could offer them. Deep in the shadows of the dark side, along with the practices within this heretical and select club, lay a forbidden art, the Alchemy. A practice that twists reality itself, defying natural laws and forging horrors beyond comprehension. Driven by the combination of fear, anger, and hatred that boils within those who accept the dark side, alchemists manipulate the Force to shape flesh and bone, imbue inanimate objects with malevolent energies, and give birth to monstrous creatures which they can control. Alchemy can be applied to both the living and the non-living. The first is simpler, in which Dark Jedi can learn to shape and create powerful amulets and strengthen weapons with energies. Any object with this alchemical touch is marked with a chilling echo of its creator's dark power. But the true test lies in the alchemy of the living, a domain reserved for the masters. Manipulating flesh and blood, reshaping life itself, demands even greater mastery of the dark side and a strong will. Only the most powerful dare to travel this path, since it is a practice on the verge of the limit of oblivion, where a false step can unleash horrors beyond imagination. The practices these Dark Jedi employed were a testament to their insatiable hunger for power, a grotesque perversion of the natural world that fueled their ambition and unleashed untold nightmares across the galaxy. The Dark Jedi's experiments led to the creation of monstrous creatures, unimaginable animals that could be used on battlefields and had enormous destructive power, being one of the most surprising creatures, the Leviathan. The Leviathans are carnivorous creatures created as a massive biological weapons alchemically designed with the aim of being used on the battlefield with a very particular and special attack. They could attract enemies towards their organic traps, the so-called blister pod. The blister pods are small organic nodes or compartments that serve as their main weapon of attack. When a victim was in close proximity to the Leviathan, the blister pods will absorb their life energy, effectively killing the victim. Additionally, the Leviathan not only took the lives of its victims, but at the time of its attack, the monster was left with the knowledge of its prey, and due to the fact that the creature served its master, that knowledge of the same way it will end up with the owner of the creature. On the other hand, if the prey that fell into the blister pod's trap could somehow get out, it would not physically come out the same as it came in, since the victim inside will age faster. Leviathans are carnivorous creatures that reproduce by eggs. The young ones physically resemble snakes, without limbs, eyes, or blisters. However, even at this stage of their development, Leviathans are aggressive and dangerous. Adult Leviathans are giant bipedal creatures with 4 smaller forelimbs and 2 tentacles around their mouths. Their skin is incredibly tough and allows them to even travel through lava. They also have a number of other characteristics that make them formidable adversaries, as they can interfere with the sensory capabilities of Force sensitives, causing them pain, confusion, and even death. Another Leviathan quality was its ability to cause its prey to hallucinate, causing them to hear screams, develop headaches, and producing the victim an urgent need in their behavior to want all the pain and what they feel to end. Physically, the Leviathans had long tentacles surrounding a gaping maw filled with rows of long teeth, 2 pairs of eyes, one above the other, and 4 nostrils in a similar arrangement. Without being as spectacular compared to its other attacks, the Leviathan had the ability to spit fire from its jaws. Leviathans as a species were capable of hibernating for millennia, but could awaken when prey was nearby. The way to kill one of these creatures was through sustained attacks with lightsabers. While their large size gave them an advantage over most other life forms in confined areas, Leviathans could also be destroyed by concentrated fire from turbolaser cannons and even force lightning, as they were not immune to this power. At the end of the Second Great Schism, the Dark Jedi who renounced the Order took their course into space. On the other hand, within the planet Ossus, Jedi spies kept abreast of all Dark Jedi actions, informing every detail to the Order. The twisted and horrific practices that had been carried out in the name of the dark side forced the Jedi Order to make a decision, having to act in this situation by confronting and ending these heretical practices against the Force. The Dark Jedi were preparing for the coming war. They knew the Order was going to come after them, so they were never taken by surprise. Using their new knowledge and skills, they formed their own army. And so it was that in the year 7000 before Battle of Yavin, the conflict known as the 100-Year Darkness began. Once again, Jedi brothers and sisters found themselves on a battlefield. Like the First Great Schism, friends and teachers fought to the death. The Jedi Order had disparaged the army of the Dark Jedi. Initially, the assumption of a short and quick war was a general idea. However, this faded when appreciating the magnitude of the army that the followers of the dark side had formed. This magnitude being not supported by a large number of adepts, but by the size of the monstrosities and alchemically modified animals created by the Dark Jedi. The battlefield was a whirlwind of chaos and light. The Jedi, using their lightsabers, made their way through the darkness. They faced a twisted collection of monstrosities commanded by fallen Jedi. In the environment, added to the sound of the clash of the lightsabers, supernatural monstrous noises were heard, and above all, the guttural roar of the Leviathans, whose shadow hid the sky. As time passed, more and more Jedi, former companions of the Order, joined the ranks of the Dark Jedi, each having understood the limitations that conditioned them for years. Among the fallen Jedi, and being an important part of the enemy Jedi army, there are 5 emblematic figures of this conflict. The High General of the army. He was a Force-sensitive human, and during his life within the Order, he wasn't a simple Jedi. He rose to the rank of Jedi Master. He began to study alchemy, and possibly because of his position in the Order in its hierarchy, he invited various students and knights to discover new limits in the Force. The commander of the Black Legions. Although other Jedi possessed similar powers, XoXaan was noted among every Force-sensitive for her skills in Force healing. As said before, she served as the commander of the Black Legions, an elite unit among the ranks of the Dark Jedi, the best of the best among warriors, the most cruel, bloodthirsty, ambitious and powerful. A human who in his time in the Jedi Order served as a Jedi Knight. Since childhood, Karness Muur's abilities with the use of the Force and his lightsaber combat skills were extraordinary. Already falling to the dark side, Karness Muur, alongside his colleagues, played the role of expert in combat tactics using the Force. Karness Muur's powers increased, having a power range so high that he had various abilities such as having complete mastery with the Force Lightning and the ability to create Force storms. But without a doubt, his specialty was magic and alchemy. He engineered a kind of violent creature with very marked, horrendous primitive instincts and an appetite for meat, the so-called Rakghouls. a Force-sensitive human who played a role as admiral of various fleets of ships. Equally powerful as his allies, Dreypa's personality was based on selfishness, the ideology where one's ambitions had to be achieved even at the expense of others was Dreypa's creed. He knew that affection and the development of interpersonal relationships was a form of slavery. A female Force user, an enigmatic figure within the fallen Jedi, taking a very important active role as she was the mastermind behind many of the variant biological creatures created during this conflict, the main one being the Leviathan. So she assumed the role of Master Summoner. The usefulness of Sorzus Syn's creation was invaluable. Even her ally Remulus Dreypa at one point entered her laboratory and stole some Leviathan larvae. Likewise, sometime later, she will be the creator of the three great amulets, the Muur Talisman that was given to Karness Muur, the Dreypa Talisman made for Remulus Dreypa, and the third, very particular one, with the intention of being the most powerful of the three, being manufactured for herself. Sorzus Syn's knowledge and mastery can be clearly seen in these three amulets, and they are also tacitly a testament to Sorzus Syn's ambition. The one from Karness Muur had two variants of action, but the aim was the same. The Muur Talisman had the ability to transform nearby beings into creatures with unconsciousness, the Rakuls. And even the user who had this amulet had the ability to age more slow. Plus, Sorzus Syn had created this amulet as a spirit reservoir if the user died in combat using it. However, brotherhood among the Dark Jedi wasn't something that was abundant since, as previously stated, Sorzus Syn's hunger for power was great, and both the Muur Talisman and the Dreypa Talisman had the mission of trapping the spirit of both. According to the thinking of Ajunta Pall and his allies, the 100-year darkness was a war that could have been avoided. They were convinced that the Jedi provoked a direct confrontation to distance them from the truth about the Force. Among the battles fought in the Second Great Schism is the Battle of Balmorra, where Sorzus Syn, commanding his Leviathans, broke the barricades of the Jedi. Or on the planet Fluwhaka, an ambush set up by the Jedi and the Republic intending to trap the Dark Jedi. However, Karness Muur, thanks to his war tactics and military intelligence, was able to prevent the fall of the Dark Jedi. During the countless battles the Jedi had against their former companions, many of them were killed. However, others were captured. The Jedi were not in favor of executing traitors, an idea that the Republic supported in order to demonstrate the consequences of such a rebellious action. Therefore, the Jedi Order chose to use the Prism, or also known as the Ghost Prism. Manufactured by the Order, it was designed to remain in the shadows, as a myth among the enemies of the Order, without knowing with certainty if that prism was real or not. Therefore, the location of the prism had to be in a strategic and specific place, the DF system being the perfect choice. Located in the wild space region, this system had very special natural phenomena. Electrical storms filled the entire space area, wreaking havoc on the spacecraft sensors. When a Dark Jedi was captured and taken to prison, he would find a space station in the middle of nowhere, with imposing architecture and sharp contours projecting an image of desolation. Designed from the outset to be inescapable and self-sustaining. Its walls, a dull metallic gray, seemed to absorb the light, returning a dull glow that reflected the hopelessness that lay deep within. During its operation over the years, in favor of keeping its location secret, no transmissions were allowed in or out. The resistance of the Dark Jedi army commanded by these 5 great users of the Force was legendary, being able to face the entire Jedi Order supported by the Galactic Republic. However, the attacks that the Jedi exerted against Ajunta Pall and the fallen Jedi were overwhelming, even learning from past experiences. The Republic had in its ranks technology originating from the Wayman's Storm conflict and the Cal-class battleship from the Kumaori Empire dispute. After 100 years of fighting, the Jedi Order cornered the Dark Jedi in the world of Corbos for a last stand. All allies of the Order came to this call. The Jedi were even helped by Jedi Hunters to put an end to these dark side users. The Battle of Corbos couldn't have been a more epic and emblematic end to this war. It was the most violent and bloody for all the battles within these 100 years, as the Dark Jedi knew it was their last chance, exhausting all their assets in this battle. However, victory was impossible, as the inevitable was about to come. Thus, like the warlord Val Kumaori crushed planets approximately 3,000 years ago, the Jedi and the Republic, using their ships inspired by the Cal-class battleships of the Kumaori, caused an orbital bombardment of Corbos, destroying the little army with all Dark Jedi, just like his war beasts. Following this, 12 Dark Jedi were the only survivors of this event. Among these dozen, Ajunta Pall, XoXaan, Sorzus Syn, Remulus Dreypa, and Karness Muur resisted. With the Jedi's lightsabers pointed straight at the backs of every Dark Jedi, the Order, confident in its triumph, didn't execute the last rebels. The Jedi put the 12 traitors on a galleon and exiled everyone forever to the void of space, thus ending the 100 years' darkness. The punishment for high treason was a banishment to unexplored space. However, the flight into the unknown was not without direction. As previously mentioned, the fall of these Jedi to the dark side was a shame for the Jedi Order, since among the traitors there were beings with enormous potential, the example of which was Sorzus Syn. Since in her time as a Jedi, she had read about a lost kingdom on the edge of the galaxy, made up of Force-sensitive beings who had successfully defended themselves against the Rakata Infinite Empire. When Sorzus Syn, Ajunta Pall, and all the former Jedi were vanished, she knew exactly where to look, thus redirecting the ship toward Korriban. This change of course being one of the decisions that will have the most impact in the future, and forever changing the history of the galaxy.